All right, let's talk about the one skill that really truly separates the pros from everyone else in the audio world: ear training. We're going to break down how you can take what feels like a technical chore and turn it into a genuine musical art form. So, does this sound familiar? You've binged the tutorials. You know what every single knob on your EQ and compressor is supposed to do, but your mixes, they just don't have that professional sound. If that's you, you are definitely not alone, and the answer is probably way simpler than you think. You know, this quote from an engineer just starting out, it really gets right to the heart of the matter. It's all about that gap, right? The gap between knowing what your tools do and knowing when and, more importantly, why you should use them. It's about getting past the theory and into pure instinct. And that brings us right into our first big idea, what we're calling the engineer's dilemma. It's that super frustrating feeling of having all the right gear, all the right plugins, but you still feel like you're just guessing. Yeah, this feeling of being lost is so common. You're just in there boosting and cutting, kind of hoping you'll just accidentally stumble upon the right sound. But here's the thing. This isn't because you don't know enough technically. It's because you haven't yet trained your ear to be the guide for all those technical decisions. So, how do we get out of that maze? Well, the solution, the real key, is to deliberately train yourself to hear frequencies. This is where the hard work starts. Yeah, but it's also where you're going to see some incredible progress. So, what even is ear training? Look, it's not magic. It's just a systematic process, kind of like practicing scales on a guitar. You are literally training your brain to connect an abstract number, like 500 hertz, to a very specific real sound that you can identify. You're turning that textbook knowledge into pure instinct. Okay, so how do you actually do it? Here's a really common and super effective way to start. First, you listen to your original untouched audio. We'll call that channel A. Next, you flip over to channel B, where a random frequency has been boosted way up. Then it's your turn. You go to channel C and try to perfectly match that exact same boost. That's it. But here's where it gets really cool. Once you get good at matching those boosts, you flip the whole exercise on its head. It's called return to flat. Now, the program gives you a track with a problematic sound boosted, and your job is to apply the opposite EQ cut to make it sound normal again. See how that directly translates to fixing a real mix? It's brilliant. All right, now that we have the basic method down, let's get into some of the techniques the pros use to make this whole process way faster and a lot more intuitive. This right here is one of the biggest cheat codes you will ever learn. You can actually associate key frequencies with the vowel sounds we make when we speak. For instance, 250 hertz often has that muddy ooh sound. 500 hertz can sound kind of boxy, like an O sound. And 1 kilohertz can have that nasally thing going on. Seriously, once you hear this, you cannot unhear it. This is what people call the form it method, and honestly, it's a total game changer. Instead of just sweeping around randomly with your EQ, you'll hear that muddy ooh in a guitar track and you'll instantly know, aha, I need to check around 250 hertz. It makes you so much faster and more precise. But what about other tools like compression? This is really important to understand. The training for that is completely different. With EQ, you have these concrete cues, right? Like those vowel sounds. With compression, it's much more about developing a comparative feel. Yeah, training your ear for compression is all about developing a feel. It's almost like learning to tell the difference between shades of blue. You listen to examples with different amounts of compression. A little, a medium amount, a ton, and you just practice identifying them. You're not looking for one specific cue. You're just building an internal sense of what more or less sounds like. It's all about repetition and comparison. So we've been getting pretty technical, but let's zoom out. Why are we doing all this? This brings us to the most important part of this whole thing, the art of audio. This is where all that technical skill finally gets to serve a creative vision. This quote just nails it. There's no such thing as one single good drum sound. It's all subjective. The right sound totally depends on the artist's goal. I mean, the way you'd mix drums for a gritty rock band like Stone Temple Pilots is going to be wildly different from how you'd mix them for a super polished pop artist like Sabrina Carpenter. And that's the point. Your trained ear stops being just a tool for fixing problems. It becomes your internal reference library. When a musician tells you, I want this to sound more vintage, you'll instantly know what that means in terms of EQ and compression and vibe. You can translate their artistic language into technical moves.
And this is just a quick warning. Don't get so lost in the technical stuff that you forget why you're even doing it. It is so easy to get burned out just focusing on the science. You have to remember, all of this technical mastery, its only purpose is to serve the art. It's about getting rid of the barriers between the sound that's in your head and the sound that actually comes out of the speakers. And this all leads to a really profound shift in how you see things. One pro engineer put it perfectly. The mixing console isn't a tool, it's an instrument. You learn it, you practice on it, you develop a deep relationship with it, just like a guitarist does with their guitar. Mixing becomes your performance.
So I'm going to leave you with this one question to think about. The next time you reach for an EQ, ask yourself, are you just using a tool to fix a problem? Or are you playing an instrument to make music? Because that answer, that could change everything about how you create.